Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Recruit Military Live, a continuing series of live broadcasts covering all things military transition, veteran employment, mil-spouse employment, and much, much more. My name is Lucas Conley, retired U.S. Army officer and former TAP program manager, here to share with you the ins and outs of making the move to the civilian world of employment. If you're in search of meaningful employment, you're in the right place. Please visit rmvets.com/live to learn more. If you haven't heard it before, there's one thing that is beyond question as you dive into the turbulent waters of civilian employment. Your network is your net worth. If you are not networking, you are probably not succeeding in the world of civilian employment. And until someone invents a newer, better platform for digital professional networking, LinkedIn is the only show in town. Today's guest is going to offer solid gold advice on how to leverage LinkedIn for your post-military career success. Our guest today is Misty Moreno. Misty served as a human resource professional in the United States Air Force for over 20 years, retiring in 2021. After retirement, she became a LinkedIn success story, going on to be recruited by automotive manufacturing powerhouse Continental as a human relations business partner and manager of the HR operations office, currently serving as a lean manufacturing coach. Misty is a published author, an HR certification course creator, and an instructor for Vets to PM Project Management Bootcamp. Misty's mission is to help veterans fight a different battle on a new battlefield, the battlefield of civilian employment. Misty, welcome to the show. Hey, it's really great having you today, and I'm glad you could take time out of your busy schedule.
Well, I really appreciate it. Thanks for giving me the opportunity. And just one correction, I actually retired 2 years ago in 2020. So I apologize if I wrote that wrong, but so it's been about 2 years now.
All right, I'm going to go find my fact checker and have him immediately executed. All right, 2020, I got you a few years on you. I retired back in 2016, just enough time to grow some hair and gain 10 pounds. All right, folks, now that you know who we are, we'd like to hear who you are out in the audience. Hit us up in that chat window. Let us know where you're watching from, who you with, who you served with, who you're serving with now, what your status is. Are you Army National Guard, Air National Guard, Reserves, Marine Corps, Coast Guard, Space Force, Army, Air Force, Navy, Marines? What you have going on? Are you getting ready to retire? Are you in transition? Are you a milspouse or a caregiver? If there's anything we haven't thought of, please jump in there. If you've got questions, comments, issues, or concerns, please feel free to let them fly in the chat window. And time allowing, we'll get after it. All right, Misty, we are wheels up. Now, Misty, when a lot of folks get out of the service, they retire, they just want to hang up the boots and go on and do something else. They just oftentimes never heard from again. They go fishing, they check out, they get out of the military community, and you don't hear from them again. That doesn't seem to be your style. I don't think sitting quietly is the Misty Moreno way. What drove you to become such a prominent voice in the LinkedIn community, consistently delivering value-added content for transitioning service members?
Yeah, so I believe knowledge is power only if you utilize it. And so I was very blessed throughout my military career to be able to watch the people that retired before me on Facebook and watch them kind of live their life after the military. And so they always provided tips and tools. And whenever I reached out to them, when I was doing some sort of planning for my future, they provided me some valuable information. And then once LinkedIn came online, I was able to watch people there as well. And so I knew that I was going to provide information that was sort of my mission set. And I've always, truth be told, if anyone truly knows me, I've always utilized social media platforms to share lessons learned and tips and tools and gripes and complaints. And so this doesn't surprise people that I'm doing the same now. So.
And I think we have an obligation, if we really have true faith and allegiance to the folks that we served with, along with the Constitution and the country, of course, not giving back almost seems like a failure to do our duty.
Absolutely. And I also think that if we want to be a catalyst for change, then we have to provide the information in order, for that to happen. So LinkedIn is the social media outlet that I chose to do that. And so every day, that's what I commit to. And I also believe in making sure that I'm doing my part on this great earth. And so this is what I believe my part entails. So that's why I do it.
Well, keep doing it because I see your content every day, and I'll tell you what, it's value added. I share a lot of it with the folks that I work with. Okay, now before we dive into LinkedIn, there's a couple of things that you said right out of the gate every service member needs to do. 3 key things they need to do, 3 steps they should take before even starting their transition journey. Can you talk about those big 3 items for a second?
Yeah, so I have 3, most definitely have to do these three things, and then I have 2 bonus items that I do believe is kind of like the icing on the cake. I believe, again, this is information that has been valuable for me. I would describe my transition as a successful and smooth transition. And I mentor other vets, and they've done these 5 things total, and we have seen success from them as well. Again, what works for one person may not work for another, but I do believe that these 5 steps, and I call them steps, you should do them in order, will help you have a smooth transition and a successful transition. And so the first 3, so anyone can do these first 3. So I recommend everyone taking their transition 1 year at a time. So 1 year at a time, it lessens the barrier to entry, right? And so service members have this really great ability to make a mountain out of a molehill. And so I truly believe that if you take it 1 year at a time, it allows you to focus on what's in front of you, not too far away, but also it allows you to have a long-term goal. So short-term, I believe, is like 6 months. Long-term is 1 year. And so you take it 1 year at a time. It takes the pressure off as well. And so when you take the pressure off, it allows you to enjoy the moment. And so you can find a job and endure that job for 1 year. And throughout that 1 year, you take notes, what you like, what you don't like, whatever it may be. And then after the year, you assess. You do the same thing for maybe you move to a new location or whatever it is. And even if you're not going to work, it could be like a volunteer opportunity. So as an example, my husband does not work after he retired. He also retired from the military the same day that I did. And so he's now evaluating his volunteer opportunities, after a year. So I believe you tackle your transition 1 year at a time. That has been the most beneficial thing that I have done because it just takes the pressure off, but it also lessens the barrier for entry. The second thing, for that year, define what success looks and feels like. And you have to ace the feeling. What does success look and feel like? So I said earlier that my transition has been smooth and it has been successful according to my definition. And so for me, my definition is all about feeling fulfilled and feeling positive and feeling mentally sane about 80% of the time. And so I have a way to measure that. And that's what I feel success is. So am I making the most money? It doesn't matter. Am I living in the biggest house? It doesn't matter. The car that I drive, it doesn't matter. What matters to me is how I'm feeling 80% of the time in the year. And so first step, take it 1 year at a time. Second step, define what success looks and feels like for you within that year. Us military members, we like to wrap success around rank and job title and whatever it may be. And so I really encourage military members to define what success looks and feels like. And the third step is to define your location. And so now you're not really strapped to anything. So you as a family or just you individually, you get to define where you want to work or where you want to live your life after the military. And this is important for LinkedIn because the entire goal of LinkedIn, in my opinion, if you're looking for a job, is to get sourced. That means people are coming to you. So I am a LinkedIn success story. Continental came to me. I didn't even know Continental existed in Sumter, South Carolina. They came to me. Why? People were looking, that recruiter was looking for a human resources professional. Boom, that was in my tagline, that lives in Sumter, South Carolina. And that was in my headline as well. So I do believe it's important for us for that 1 year, right? Define your definition of success. What does it look and feel like? And then figure out where you're going to do life for that year. And then the 2 bonus tips. Number 4, step 4. Now that you know what your definition of success looks and feels like, it's now time to define, what does your work life look and feel like? So we like to say work-life balance, but I hate that word balance because it's never balance. But literally, what does your work and life look like? And so this is something that you should probably discuss with your family, with your kids, whoever plays a role in your life. A lot of military members will tell me that they want to never work a shift again. They don't want to travel again. They don't want to do X, Y, Z. So for that year, you need to define, what does your work and your life look like? And what does it feel like? And I call these non-negotiables. My non-negotiable, I am not working a night shift. So it doesn't matter.
Me neither.
Yeah, exactly. So you have to come up with your non-negotiables. That's what your work and your life looks like. And remember, we're only doing this 1 year at a time. So it can change. So once you assess your year, you can make assessments, right? You can make changes based on those. And then the fifth tip, based on all of that you already did, define your bare minimum salary. Because if you want your work and your life to look a certain way, your salary is probably going to look a certain way. And so I have military members that tell me, I don't want to work any extra hours. I don't want to be on call. I don't want to do this, but I want 125K. You're going to have to set your expectations. So those are my 5 tips. 3, anyone can do. So take it 1 year at a time, define what success looks and feels like, and then determine where you want to do life for that year. What's your location? And those 3 things are beneficial for LinkedIn because you get to set up your headline accordingly. The goal is to have people to reach out to you. And then 2 bonus steps, define what your work and your life looks and feels like, and then determine what your bare minimum salary is.
I missed Misty. I got to tell you, I definitely messed these up when I was transitioning because I went in to my transition with 2 goals and they were opposing goals, and you just hit it out of the ballpark. I said my number 1 goal is I wanted to make a ton of money. And my number 2 goal was I wanted a 40-hour a week job with no responsibilities. So let's just say I achieved one of them. I made a bunch of money, but I was working ridiculous hours. I answered way too many questions with too many people, and I was completely insane. What I really needed was the stability, the 40-hour week, the more family time. And you know what? It was just fine. I didn't need to go on a 2-week vacation. A 1-week vacation was fine. I didn't need a brand new truck. A 2-year-old truck was fine. And then when I shifted towards what my real family goal was, 40 hours, more time with the kids, more time for sanity, my life got better. My bank account was a little smaller. I was a lot happier. So I wish I had listened to this when I was getting out.
Yeah, and this might work for you and it might not work for you. But I do believe that if you take it 1 year at a time, at the end of the year, you can assess. And so I'll be honest with you. I assessed at the end of, 2021, and I was like, okay, this is good. Continental is still good for me. It's definitely putting some money in my bank account, but it's also providing me and my family what we want for our life. At the end of the second year, and I just recently kind of did this because I retired in September of 2020. At the end of the second year, I noted a couple of things in a different column. I noted some things that I might want to be on the lookout in the third year for, meaning some things that I might want to change. Maybe it's my schedule. Maybe it's, just working a 9-hour day, but feeling like I work 18 hours, And so those are some things that are not too crazy right now. But I also am now starting to set a few boundaries around my work and my life. And so if you just get into the habit of assessing every year, looking at what you truly want to look in, like as far as success, what you want success to look and feel like, and what you want your work and your life to feel like, then hey, you can change it at the end of the year, right? But the bare minimum salary was key for me because me and my husband, we know what we have to make to pay the mortgage, right? And honestly, our retirement and our VA covers everything else in life. And so what Continental is providing us is just stability so we can pay for our son's private school and then, any other college that maybe the GI Bill is not going to take care of, you know what I mean? And so we know what our bare minimum salary is. So if at any time Continental no longer fits into my definition of success and no longer allows me to live the life that I want to live, then we can make a decision at the end of that year.
Awesome. All right, now let's shift focus into the meat and potatoes of today's conversation, digital professional networking using LinkedIn, which, people think I talk about LinkedIn so much, maybe they think I'm, I own stock in the company or they sponsor me or something. But the fact of the matter is it really is the only show in town till somebody comes up with something different. So we know we need to network. We know that LinkedIn is a great tool, one of the primary tools. Of course, the career fairs are amazing. You going out and shaking people's hands, attending online events, these are all critical. But for that digital professional networking in LinkedIn, we know that needs to happen. And if you're not doing it, then you're just not in the game. How soon should people be diving into LinkedIn and going on that LinkedIn journey when they believe that the twilight of their career is on the horizon?
Yeah, so I think that this is like subjective in nature. I always just say that the time to get on is now. So shoulda, coulda, woulda, you know what I mean? Just whenever you realize that maybe you're not on LinkedIn, then you need to get on. So do those 5 steps first, because that really helps you define kind of how you want to utilize the platform. Because I think that you also have to realize that there's several different ways to utilize the platform. Everybody has their method to the madness, right? Some will use it just to connect and kind of stay in the know with their industry, and others will utilize it for, getting a new job or whatever it may be. So kind of decide how you want to use it, and the answers to your 5 questions will help you do that. And then when to get on. As far as a transitioning member, I'll tell you, and we've talked about this before, and I know that the chat is probably going to blow up, but I consider myself also a TAP success story. I love TAP. I absolutely loved TAP. I know I'm probably the only one out there, but let me tell you why. I identified first thing when TAP, got on my checklist for transitioning. I identified exactly what TAP was going to be utilized for. TAP helps you with your logistical transition, meaning it's going to teach you XYZ, the basics, the most simple form of resumes and interviews and benefits and whatever, just a simple form, kind of like the gateway, right? Gateway to more info. It's not there to prepare you mentally. It's not. I mean, yes, there is some stuff in the curriculum. Again, I thought it was very beneficial, but if you just utilize TAP for simple tips on how to do a professional resume, interview, whatever it may be, then boom, you're going to get out of it exactly what that curriculum's outputs are, right? And so in TAP, step 1 was to get onto LinkedIn. So I went home and I did my homework and I got on LinkedIn and I set up an account, and it actually told me how to set it up. And I even used LinkedIn Help and set up my LinkedIn then. So that was about, I would say, a year and a half out. And for me, it was super beneficial to be about a year and a half out, tap into LinkedIn, connected with lots of companies, connected with lots of people. And then I was able to also share. And I use LinkedIn. I always say I use LinkedIn for show and tell. And so in the beginning, my mission was to secure a job. That was my mission with LinkedIn. I do have some skills as far as like writing and stuff like that. And so I was going to show and tell why I'm a good candidate and what I can do for a company. And so that's how I use LinkedIn. So the answer to your question, when to get on now. The sooner the better. It's not just to secure a job. It's also to build your network for when you need a network, right? And just like what you said, your network is really your net worth. And let me tell you, I work at Continental, but I reach out to so many different companies to help me with my job at Continental. I have a great support system. We actually meet every other weekend on Zoom. All of these HR professionals, we have masterminds, like we talk about things. We don't share specifics because legally we are not allowed to do that in compliance, right? But we share like certain things, like templates or whatever, or ideas. So yeah, I mean, my network obviously secured me a role, but it's also helping me in my current role.
And it looks like there are some folks in the chat who've got very similar feedback. Todd Cook, if you're still on active duty, plan now. Okay, don't wait. As they say, it wasn't raining when Noah started building the Arc. TAP class and your VA exam, get it done. All right, so lean in. Jose Soriano, coming out of Fort Drum, the home of the Mighty Mighty 10th Mountain Division. Apparently had a very great tap experience. Anonymous caller from Fort Hood. Tap was just like the climate. I don't know what that means. Hot? It was dry? I'm really not sure. We'll unpack that later.
Yeah. I mean, Fort Hood is not known for its awesome culture, so I get where he's going with that.
All right, so let's take a look at your 365-day challenge. And when you told me this during our conversation, I absolutely, it blew my mind. And I thought to myself, how much further along would my networking have been if I had accepted and executed and completed this challenge? Share for the audience, please. What is this 365 challenge that we speak of?
Yeah, so I got on LinkedIn and I was like, okay, this is my mission. This is my goal. I'm going to secure employment. And so for 365 days, I did the following. So I got onto LinkedIn every single morning while I was drinking coffee, and I came up with a show and tell post. What am I going to show and tell today about my experience, about my knowledge and skills and abilities? I loved sharing lessons learned. I loved exploring, how can I translate my military experience to civilian experience? And so when I was drinking my coffee, I came up with a show and tell idea, a post idea. I unpacked it. I tried to keep it to bullet points, simple reading. And then I also explored my network, who I was following, and I liked and commented on 10 posts. But I was pretty selective with what I liked and commented on. I ensured that I could add something to the conversation where also I was not only supporting them, but I was, again, showing and telling what my knowledge, what my skills, and what my abilities are. And then as part of the 365-day challenge for myself, I didn't only connect with people, I connected with companies. And so one thing that I do believe that military kind of gets wrapped around the axle about is we go and we connect with all of these other military members. And hey, I use LinkedIn one way. You may use LinkedIn another way. I use LinkedIn to, gain these meaningful connections with companies and people in order for us to help each other out, and whatever kind of that definition of help out is, right? And so I want to connect with people that can bring something to the conversation, and then, where we can have a kind of a reciprocal relationship. Okay. Yes, I'm going to connect with, I never turn down a connection. I connect with anyone and everyone. But when I physically go out and look for connections, I'm looking for people that can help me in my industry, that can, bring me maybe to a different level. I always say I show up to go up. My goal is just to level up every day. And so I'm connecting with people and companies that will help me do that. And so that's the 365-day challenge. So I posted, and I haven't missed a day yet. I posted for 365 days straight, but it's actually been for about maybe 850 days or something like that. And then I liked and commented on 10 separate posts. And then I followed connections, like people and companies that could help me level up.
Okay, great. So now when you're trying to, how do you decide who to connect with as far as the companies are concerned, industry representatives, folks in the region? I mean, how do you dial that in? It's a big world out there.
Yeah. So there's a few categories that this is how I did it. So the first thing was, I really wasn't sure what I wanted to do. So I just, looked around the room and looked around my office and looked at the books I was reading and the podcasts that I was listening to and the clothes that I wore and the shoes that I wore. And I just decided to connect with companies that I utilize, right? So I connected with OnCloud. I connected with Dave Ramsey Solution. Favorite LinkedIn account ever. Ramsey Solutions. Their social media strategists, someone needs to promote her or him, whoever it is. But so I just connected with companies that I utilize, that I can learn from, whatever it may be. And then I also envision like, I wonder what it would be like to actually work for Ramsey Solutions, or I wonder what it would be like to work for this company. And so that's the first thing. I just connected and followed companies that I utilize. And then when it came to people, I utilized the search button for LinkedIn and connected with human resources professionals. But I didn't just connect with everyone. I read their profiles. I looked at their resumes. And again, I'm showing up to go up. I want it to level up. And
Okay.
I always get a lot of, I will say, some criticism when I say this. It's like, oh, you're using people. I don't think using people is a bad term. You're utilizing people. You're utilizing people, right? And so I don't ever use without giving. I give free content. I give things all the time. Last weekend, I did 7 30-minute Zoom calls, to help veterans. So I do believe that if you're on the platform, you're there to give in some way, shape, or form. You are there to give in whatever way that you can, and also what's the most beneficial for that person, right? So I first followed companies that I utilized, then I connected with people that were in the human resources industry. And then the third category was like just fun stuff, right?
Right.
Just funny things, or maybe it was like a Simon Sinek account, or the famous people that are out there doing it, and so yeah, that's kind of how I decided to connect. And what I do every day, I still do it during coffee time. I go to my connections, I go to the list that says who you're following and who you're connected with, and I just kind of go through and just click on some people. I don't let my feed run me. I run my feed. And so I go to like Ramsey Solutions. I'm consistently going to their LinkedIn account. Same thing with Simon Sinek. And, so that's kind of how I utilize my time. Like, what do I want to get out of today?
Okay. Hey, we've got Misty, great advice, great information, great lessons learned there. We've got a couple of great questions in the chat here. And I haven't heard this one before, so I want to go ahead and highlight it. Billy Bodford. How do you weed out the false jobs and people? That is something I am trying to deal with right now. Now, when I look in the mirror, I know I'm not a bad looking fella, but there's no way that some of the contacts I'm getting are genuine. I'm not that attractive. I know this. So there are some hucksters out there.
Yep.
There's some chicanery. There's some flim flam. There's some scams out there. How do you litmus test some of these outreaches that could be leading you in the wrong direction?
Well, one thing, so again, I always accept connections, but what I do with those connections is up to me. When people message me, Billy, what I do is I go to their profile first. So if it's about an opportunity or something like that, I go through their profile, I read through their profile. For the scammers, you can catch quickly, probably if it's a scam, because there'll be a lot of, incorrect verbiage or poor translating. And so Madeline Mann, I don't know if you guys know her, and Jessica Hernandez, they talk a lot about this stuff. So follow those two people, Madeline Mann and Jessica Hernandez. They talk about that stuff too. But I go to their profile and I look for obvious, like if it's a scammer, you can tell by poor translation, grammar, or the profile is not filled out.
Right.
And then if it's I get a lot of those from like, not necessarily recruiters, but like recruiting companies. And they're like, oh, I'm sourcing for a company, blah, blah, blah. Cool. Send me the job posting.
Right.
And a lot of them won't do that because they don't want you to go right to the site and apply because they want to get the credit for it. But I don't utilize their links because you never know what you're about to open yourself up to, right? And so I just say, please send me the job posting and I'll connect with you. And I keep my word. I'll connect with you if it's an opportunity that I would like to explore, because you have, especially for those people that are jobbing, you want to give them the credit, right? But I also want to make sure that this is legit. So that's how I do it. I always go to their profile. I also look at if they've posted. I do this a lot. Like, what are they posting about? And if I go out and try to follow someone, I'm not following anyone that's not contributing to the conversation.
Right.
I don't want to connect to people that are not contributing to the conversation. Again, if they reach out to me, I'll accept it. But if I'm going out to actually connect to people, because there's a lot of people that have written like awesome blogs and books, but like James Clear, I love James Clear, Atomic Habits. It's my favorite book in the whole world. Yep. I've read it 5 times. Love his podcast. He's pretty good on Instagram, but he states in his LinkedIn profile, I'm not here. I just have a profile, but I'm not here. So I don't follow him because he's not there. You know what I mean? So
Okay.
but that's how I kind of weed it out. I look at their profile, I look at what they've posted, and I also say, send me the link and I'll explore myself. And I keep my word. I'll come back to you if it's something I'd like to explore.
Another great question from, and I hope I'm about to pronounce this young lady's name correctly, Milagros Cunningham. I haven't worked since separating in 2014, committed myself to taking care of my kids, but now I'm struggling to find a job. Looks like she's got an 8-year gap in her resume and probably an 8-year gap on LinkedIn and in networking and being active in the community. What advice would you give Ms. Cunningham?
So my personal advice, Jessica Hernandez, she talks about this so much, how you can make everything that you did with your kids and for your family into experience. So BS, you have experience. You definitely do. We have to get creative with your resume. And any recruiter in any company that values people will allow for that creativity. And they'll allow for you to explain that 8-year gap. So the first thing is to identify what your knowledge, your skills, and your abilities are. With that 8-year gap, I don't think it's a gap. I think you decided to work somewhere else. You just may not have received an actual paycheck for it, but you worked somewhere else. And as far as your experience, if you're on LinkedIn and you're on this this webcast, then you have done other things. So yes, you might not have experience in your degree, but what other education have you accumulated? Did you get any sort of certifications? Any sort of learnings, micro learnings, LinkedIn learning, whatever it may be. And so, I'd love to help you with your resume. I could probably do a quick 30-minute chat with you on Zoom and talk about that 8-year gap. And let's figure out how we can optimize that. Because, and also I would argue that maybe your resume needs to be worked on. Maybe your LinkedIn profile needs to be tweaked a bit, because we're in a job market where there are people looking for people just like you. You could probably organize a home. You're a project manager. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I can make this work. And also it's all about you connecting with people too, and with companies and sharing your story. Hey, I took 8 years off because I really wanted to commit to my kids. I served in the military. I'm looking for this. And I would also give you some tips on setting your expectations, like entry-level jobs are not bad. Of course, it might not meet your bare minimum salary, but sometimes you're going to have to figure out a way in order to get your foot in the door. And then you can gain some experience, valuable experience, to be able to apply for jobs that do meet your bare minimum salary.
And if Ms. Cunningham is raising kids that are anything like mine, then she has a vast amount of experience in dealing with very difficult direct reports who have constant interpersonal conflict. So
employee engagement.
There you go. We have a compliance problem in Conley Industries over here sometimes, right? We're not meeting the standards.
Yeah, I feel for you because I don't have that experience. I couldn't do what you do. So thank you for doing that. Our world needs a lot of that. But I shared, my husband retired at the same time that I did. And we made a plan for 13 years that he would be the one to stay home with our son. We have a teenager. And I was like, good, because there's no way. I just don't, that is not in my blood. The Lord did not bless me with that skill. So I congratulate you. I'm so glad that you got to do that. I hope that it's beneficial for you. But now please reach out and I will help you word your resume and your LinkedIn profile in a way that the right recruiter will invest in you.
And looks like the Ms. Cunningham has a lot of support there.
Absolutely.
Don't disappear on us, Milagros, and I hope I didn't slaughter your name. It looks like you've got a lot of folks that want to jump into your corner.
Yep.
All right, Misty, as we slide into the tail end of the show, just one last question. If you had just 30 seconds only to deliver one piece of advice to a transitioning service member, a veteran job seeker, a mill spouse, even with respect to how to leverage this LinkedIn platform for professional success, what advice would you give?
Do not let perfection be the enemy of good. Do not let perfection be the enemy of good. Get on LinkedIn. You can go to linkedin.com/help right now, and it will tell you how to set up everything. So set up your picture, set up your cover picture, do your headline, put your location in your headline, and you can actually, linkedin.com/help will show you how to optimize your location. Put your resume in there, but do not highlight necessarily your roles and responsibilities. Highlight your accomplishments. Recruiters are looking for people to fill pain points in their organization. So show and tell how you can fill those pain points. But I'm telling you, there's a lot of veterans out there. They're so used to being the best of the best, the go-to person, whatever it may be. Take the pressure off. Your ego will injure you. Leave it at the door. You don't know this civilian life, so don't pretend to be an expert. I've been out for 2 years. It surprises me every day. So don't let perfection be the enemy of good. Guess what, guys? You can be a beginner now. I give you permission. You served your country. You did everything that you had to do. You sacrificed, right? You signed your contract and you lived it well. And now it's time to let people give back to you. But it's also time for you to take the pressure off. It doesn't matter if you were a senior master sergeant, a chief, a colonel, whatever. It doesn't matter if you were the best of the best. You got the best evaluation. You can be a beginner now. Take it 1 year at a time. Define what success looks and feels like. Define your location. Then talk about your work and your life balance. And someone said in the comments, make sure you talk to your family. They're transitioning too, guys. They're transitioning too. And then talk about what your bare minimum salary is. And then just get on LinkedIn. Take it day by day. Perfect your LinkedIn profile 1% better every day. Engage with people, connect. But don't let perfection be the enemy of good.
Absolutely. Sage advice. And if, that's just worth hearing over and over again. I can't wait to get back and listen to that one more time. Misty, before we go, can you tell us a little bit about what you have going on with Vets to PM and any other projects you have on the horizon?
Yeah, so I'm super blessed. I'd say I'm a LinkedIn professional, a LinkedIn success story, a TAP success story, and a Vets to PM success story. So vetstopm.com. We help military members achieve meaningful and lucrative careers. First, we inspire them with a clear and meaningful, lucrative end state as a career project, and also with human resources, cybersecurity, and general manager certifications. We offer professional certification training and so much more. We always say you're not purchasing a program, you're purchasing a system. And so Vets to PM, our CEO is a vet, our operations officer is a vet, and they work together to come up with project management certifications. And now we've branched out to so many different certifications. So I was actually called upon to write an HR certification course. So that's available on vetstopm.com/HR. And I also teach their project management course. And as far as other projects, I did write a book. It's called Get Your Shit Together. But really, I just love to give back to the LinkedIn community, the veteran community. I'm just here for whatever assistance you need. I might be slow to answer at times, but I do a lot of my LinkedIn connecting and Zoom calls on the weekend. And so all you have to do is just hit me up on LinkedIn via a message, and we'll see how we can help one another.
Awesome, Misty. And for those of you who are still job seeking, if you haven't already done so, do yourself a solid and head on over to www.recruitmilitary.com. There, you will find over 400,000 job opportunities from more than 16,000 employers around the world and around the corner. Recruit Military, much like Misty, is on a mission to help veterans transition service members and mil spouses find meaningful employment. Misty, on behalf of Recruit Military, thanks for taking the time to be on the show today.
Yeah, thanks for having me, and truly love your mission. And for everybody out there, just take it one day at a time. You got this.
Awesome. And be sure to tune in next week when we talk with Kenneth Mays of the Institute for Veterans and Military Affairs up here in Northern New York. Ken is going to tell us about the laundry list of great programs and resources the IVMF at Syracuse University makes available to transitioning service members, veteran students, veteran job seekers, and mil spouses alike. You won't want to miss that. Until next time, this has been Lucas Conley for Recruit Military. Good luck and Godspeed. That